Hello and welcome to Singtel's 2017 Annual Report Independent Review. My name is James Leong. I'm a financial educator with SIAS and I conduct the workshop on analyzing company financials for smart investing. Today we shall focus on Singtel's financials, zoom in on the financial highlights and also identify some of the hot button issues that you need to be aware of as a shareholder. But certainly, be sure to read the full Singtel's annual report in detail and arm yourself with insights as well as questions before you attend the annual general meeting. So first of all, the big picture. Let's take a look at Chairman's message. You will find that Singtel today has been undergoing transformation over the past 5 years. In fact, due to digital disruption and intense competition in the marketplace, Singtel has been evolving. According to Group CEO, today, Singtel is no longer a traditional telco, but in fact, a communications technology company. So with that as the context, let's zoom in on Singtel's financial numbers. Underlying net profit up 3% for FY17. Notable numbers are operating revenue at 16.7 billion, down 1.5%. EBITDA at 4.9 billion, slight dip 0.3%. These were offset by strong associates pre-tax earnings, up 5.5% at 2.9 billion. Overall, leading to an underlying net profit of 3.9 billion, up 2.9%. Let's zoom in on contributions by geography. Singtel today is not just a Singapore-centric business, but in fact a global business. In fact, 70% of Singtel's net profit came from outside of Singapore. In particular, 48% came from its regional associates. So how did the associates perform? Telkomsel, the star performer, pre-tax contribution up 17%. He has been a strong, consistent performer, which partially offset the somewhat disappointing performance by Airtel in India. In fact, there was a new telco operator in India which contributed to their weak performance, in particular the last quarter of 2016 as compared to the last quarter of 2017. There was a drop of 51% as you could see from the numbers. So shareholders, be sure to engage with management and ask those questions. How does Singtel intend to deal with the intense competition there, and how do they intend to replace the lost earnings? Moving over to group EBITDA, you can see that the trend lines mirror that of the operating revenue lines as well. Optus performance in particular, the operating revenue declined by 8% by the numbers, and full year EBITDA declined by 4% due to the factors that we have shared. Free cash flow. Free cash flow has been healthy, supported by growing associates dividends, which offset rising capex as you could see from the charts. The group is investing ahead with its networks and also at the same time paying a huge amount for the cost of spectrum. As you could also see from here, due to intense bidding and competition, so that eats into free cash flow. In addition, the group has also been actively investing and raising their stakes in AIS and Airtel. Overall, almost 2.5 billion has been invested during the year. Let's take a look at Singtel's strategic focus. How do they intend to bring the business forward? Its aim is to drive sustainable growth from its core business, both in Singapore and Australia, whereas for the group Digital Life, you will leverage on digital global opportunities in digital marketing, data analytics, and premium video services. So let's zoom in and take a look at the numbers. So here are the numbers. We will be zooming in each of the segment. And as you could see, the group consumer as well as the group enterprise together made up the core business of Singtel. And the future engine of growth comes from the group Digital Life, where they are still at the investing phase. Group Consumer segment. Overall operating revenue at 9.57 billion was down 5.3%. EBITDA was stable at 3.3 billion. The Singapore aspect of the business, operating revenue declined 1.9%, but with strong cost management, EBITDA increased 2.4%. So if your top line is not doing as well, so cost management, cost discipline would definitely be very, very important. Looking at the Australia side of the group consumer business, now for the year, operating revenue declined 8.4%, EBITDA declined 1.9%, and there was a new entry of a fourth mobile operator. So all in all, adding to additional competitive pressure. So shareholder, do ask those questions. What is management's strategic response to that, and how do they intend to replace lost revenues potentially as well as earnings? Moving over to group enterprise, operating revenue at 6.6 billion was in fact up 3.2%. EBITDA at 1.91 billion was down 2.3%. When we focus on the Singapore business, the Singapore enterprise business, the revenue grew 3% due to strong growth in ICT services, although it somewhat offset the price declines in carriage services. In Australia, unfortunately, there were intense price competition, and also there was an increase in doubtful debts. So do ask management about the situation, what's the latest situation with regards to the doubtful debt situation, as well as the increased competition. What would be their strategic response? For Group Digital Life, operating revenue at 539 million was up 19%. The negative EBITDA was at 122 million. As you saw from the earlier chart, in fact, at 122 million negative EBITDA, it was an improvement over the prior year of 10.6%. So Singtel is a financially strong company, as we can see from the balance sheet of growing assets and also at the same time growing shareholders' funds. As part of its corporate finance strategy, it finances part of its investments via debt, which result in higher gearing. So overall, at net gearing of 26.9%, it was given an S&P rating of A+. So shareholders could sleep soundly at night knowing that Singtel is financially healthy. 5 years total shareholders return. So how did you perform if you were a Singtel shareholder holding on to Singtel shares for the past 5 years? Overall, you will have made 9.4% based on share price appreciation plus dividends that you have received, as compared to the Straits Times Index of 4.4%. So congratulations. So the big question on everyone's mind now here is Singtel is going to float its associate Netlink. There's going to be an IPO. So will there be special dividends? That's the big question of the day. Well, reviews are mixed. People have different opinions. On the other hand, you might potentially, as shareholder, get a hong bao from Singtel because of the special dividend it might give. But going forward, knowing that Singtel has to continue to invest in CAPEX, and because of its increasing gearing, it might choose a more prudent policy of paying down debt. So if you want to find out the answer, be sure to attend the annual general meeting and ask those questions. And that's happening on the 28th of July 2017, this month. Be sure to read the rest of the annual report and ask those important questions.